How's it brewing, everyone? Coffee Bean here with Kingdom Hearts 3, specifically the data organization. Now, I actually didn't plan on making a video on them. I was just going through the game myself, trying to 100% everything. But then I thought that it would be really interesting to see not necessarily the most effective way in fighting these bosses, but just how I went about getting around them. I really like these fights because you do get to see keyblades that you typically would not, and you also get to see different breakdowns to the combat. Yes, I've played through the game I think 4 times by now on critical, but nothing challenges me as heavily as the DLC does. What I want to do in this video series is I want to show you guys not exactly the best way to fight all of these bosses, because if I'm being honest, I don't know what the best way is, but I'm going to be showing you how I went about beating them. So we'll go through, we'll watch the fight, and then I'll kind of break down some of the moves that really caught me off guard and that may help you guys on your way through these bosses as well. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget to like and subscribe. It takes a lot to make these videos and it really helps out the channel. Enjoy. Alright, so first we have young Xehanort. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be breaking down all the fights while they happen, but for this one I definitely will, because young Xehanort, in my opinion, was one of the easiest bosses. He's got some instances where you need to have some patience and stay calm, but a lot of the bosses also have those same things. He has some unique mechanics when it comes to the end of his fight. His ultimate move is pretty unique, and I'll talk more about that later. But his biggest threat is his ice projectiles and the fact that his Keyblade turns into like a whip. That gives him, the whip gives him incredible range very quickly, and the ice is dangerous because if you get hit and you end up on 1 HP, then you're just dead. So there are a few things that you can do to get around those if you are struggling against those things, and again I'll talk about them later. But this fight is one of my favorites. I just love the way that, like, not a lot of people in the game transform their Keyblades into other things. You'll see, I think Xehanort does it where he turns it into like a giant cannon. Sora, obviously, young Xehanort, but not a lot of people actually transform the Keyblade into other forms. So it's always cool to see people do that, because I think it is supposed to be in the Keyblade world like a unique ability. So the fact that like young Xehanort just does it like all the time, it's just it makes the Keyblade look so much stronger and cooler, and it makes you understand that like Sora's abilities, he really is as proficient with the Keyblade as some of the, you know, old masters. But also young Xehanort's time abilities are like just so sick to me. I feel like if you could have fought him more as a boss throughout the game, I would not have complained. Something that helped me through this fight is the fact that shot locks slow down time. The great caveat about this too is that you don't have to use the shot lock, and if you don't use it, it doesn't waste meter. Now, I mostly use this to get around the ice projectiles, because if I got frozen, it would just really mess me up. If you struggle to getting frozen, there's both a keyblade and an accessory that you can equip that prevent you from getting frozen. I would say to opt the accessory over a keyblade. That way you're not losing damage for protection from a single move. If you ever see the clock, dodge. It means that he's either going to vanish and then attack, or he's going to bring it out and then attack. So honestly, as long as once it pops out, you get some distance, you stay on your guard, you're fine. I don't think he does any unblockables starting from that move. Now he can do one that will send you up into the air, and he can combo you from there, but as long as you stay on your guard and you just keep blocking, like I said earlier, I don't believe he uses the whip and does any unblockable moves, so you're safe to just stay on defense and wait for an opening. Also, he gives lots of room for error. Honestly, even with his ultimate, as long as you just stay calm and just focus on watching what he's doing, you'll be fine and it'll be an easy win. And with that, we'll officially mark young Xehanort defeated. Now here comes a real piece of work. Dark Riku honestly should have been way more terrifying, but I think I lucked out. Like young Xehanort, he's a fight that is really fun, but at times he seems so unfair. You'll notice that he uses certain red moves, and it's a newer mechanic to the Kingdom Hearts series that they now have unblockables, which are typically displayed as being red. You'll notice with some of Sora's counters where his body will flash red, and if I understand correctly, it works sort of in the same way where it breaks through enemy defenses. But every time you see those red lights flash, those are attacks that cannot be blocked. They can be dodged, you can evade them, but when it comes to just being able to block the move, unblockable. Now he'll do it from lasers from the ground, and he'll also throw out sword slashes. And either way, they're typically either to start off a combo or as a combo finisher. So even when I get ready to punish him, those red lasers will be coming out of the ground, preventing me from doing a full combo. Or if I start to, press him to go on the offensive, or I seem to be too defensive, he'll throw out one of the sword slashes, and it gets me stunned either long enough for him to lead into a combo, or to get his footing back and summon some of those dark bombs that you see around. And he gets really defensive, because blocks work that if you're blocking, you'll continue blocking until there's a certain time space in between, and then you can, counter or just let your guard down. And so there were times where I would attack his shield and I would go through an entire combo and it would just all be blocked. I'm like, I don't know what to do here, because Sora can do the same thing, but it's like fighting yourself, but you've never had to fight yourself before. So it was definitely a learning curve to be like, oh, dummy, he's blocking, stop attacking, and you can counter his counter attack. So he'll put up the shield and then it all blows up. So you can counter that and retaliate. But if you mess up, it can hurt you just as bad. But I had a lot of fun with this. I'd say you could probably use any Keyblade that you want. There's not a specific one that I would recommend for this fight, but Ultimate Weapon is always a good choice. Every time at the start of the fight, he would summon these dark bombs, and they can be dealt with pretty easily as long as you have thunder. Later in the fight, when you're curing and you're out of magic, it's a little tougher to get rid of them, but they don't deal too much, and he doesn't always combo super heavy off of them. Dark Riku's ultimate attack is just a relentless barrage. I don't know sometimes how I even got out of it, but I figured out that if you continually dodge in one direction, it typically got you close towards the end. I also found that healing through the bombs on the side could also help out a lot, because healing gives you invincibility frames. So if you use that as you pass through certain attacks, it works really well as a defense. Now I tried to change some of my armor to protect me from the darkness, because I thought that's what damage he was doing, and that didn't help. Through countless tries, I just could not get through his ultimate move, and the hard part about it is that this is something that isn't optional. Once he hits maybe like a third of his health, he goes into this move. Sometimes he'll use it twice, sometimes he'll use it only once in a fight, but I couldn't find 100% method to get through it. I just kind of got lucky, found some of this spacing in between, and I also utilized a lot of the invincibility frames from form changes and form finishes. And with that, Dark Riku is also done. And last for this video, we have Saïx, who is an absolute madman. Mad enough that he has a berserk meter. When the berserk meter gets full with yellow, doesn't mean a whole lot. But when it fills up and it's blue, he goes into this special form where he swings, and all of his swings have an impact of some sort. He teleports faster, I am fairly certain he hits harder, and he uses moves that when you get hit, you are stunned, you are knocked unconscious by them. And when I started this, I thought, yeah, okay, I gotta work around it a little bit, it's a different boss, I've fought him before, I beat him before. But for some reason, this time through, he was insane. I left his fight to go and farm strength up and defense up and magic up, because he was that hard. I went and I left and I made money so I could buy more elixirs, because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna heal, I'm gonna heal with more elixirs than like HP potions. And even then, he was still incredibly difficult. I walked into this when I started to kind of form the idea of making this video. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go through the bosses, I'll be done with all of them in maybe 2 hours tops. He took that 2 hours plus alone. I've never been so... Okay, no, I have been stuck, Sora, but besides him, Saïx has been one of the toughest. And I'll break it down a little bit later on how I got around to beating him. But one of the odd requirements that'll come from both him and Marluxia is the need for magic. Most bosses don't require you to need to hit them with a certain element, but in Saïx's case, it was almost mandatory, because his berserk move was absolutely terrifying. And honestly, I kind of want to go and fight him again now, just like talking about it, because it's making me like get riled up and being like, oh yeah, he'd be easy now. Maybe I'll go back later and like see if I can beat my time and how long it took to fight all the bosses. But he does give you lots of space to like counter and really like deal some damage to him, but you have to be patient. And that was something that the more I fought him, the more frustrated I got, and the less I was willing to wait. Even now, when it's right on the brink of winning or losing, and I was just swinging and swinging, and I think I lucked out when I beat him this time around. But man, he was so much fun, but so frustrating to fight. So one mistake that I made right off the bat was thinking that he was extremely weak to ice at all times. And the more I fought him, the more I don't believe that was the case. I thought it would always work down his berserk meter like really fast, but I didn't think it was working all that well. And another thing is being knocked unconscious. I did not think that that would affect me as much as it would, because it was an attack that he didn't use all throughout the fight, but when he would use it, either in full berserk or just in the regular berserk, it always seemed to catch me off guard just enough to actually get me killed. I was like, oh, I'm at like half health. It hits me and all my health is gone. I'm like, oh, that's like I'm just dead. Even at far distances, there are definitely times where just a stray energy blast would hit me and I'd just be done. And then I finally remembered that there is a Keyblade that prevents getting stunned. After equipping it, I felt like, okay, now I'll actually have some freedom to be hit by those attacks. But in comparing the damage, I definitely wasn't doing as much, so that meant the fight would go on longer. And I knew I wasn't good enough to really keep alive any longer than I already had been. So trying to use the Big Hero 6 Keyblade was almost like prohibiting me from actually killing him if I used it in actual combat. So I opted just to use it when he went into full berserk mode, and then while he was in his regular mode, I would stick with the Ultima weapon. And that seemed to work way better than I actually thought it would. I also started opting to use more items to heal than using Cure. It was really tough, but I realized that having Blizzard to help stop his berserk mode would save me a lot of trouble. Because if I could use Blizzard and stop the berserk, I wouldn't have to switch from the Ultima weapon. And being able to keep that damage as high as possible definitely kept me going through these fights, and it made them possible to win. Because if I had to actually stall and wait any longer, they would have killed me. And with that, Saïx was beaten too. And that's going to wrap up our video for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Based on how long this video took to make, it may be a while before I get the next one posted, but I'm definitely gonna try my best to get them out there as fast as I can while still making them really quality videos. You guys already know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on that little bell notification, and I will catch you guys in the next video.